Yes. Okay. You can hear me? I was just reading your message, Nikki. Um, Actually, I was muted when I stopped the music, but so I was going to do a live show on my other YouTube channel, The Real Dana, to talk about the recap of the Grammys. And I may do that after this Twitter space because I took a lot of notes. The Grammys were very entertaining. That was before. The Grammys were very entertaining last night. I enjoyed it. Now there were a lot of satanic symbolism, especially with Sam Smith and a girl. I think it was Kylie somebody. She's a transgender woman, first transgender woman to win a Grammy. I'm not surprised, but the song and their performance, Devil Red or whatever, Madonna introducing them. So it was a lot of satanic symbolism going on, but what did you expect? Of course, it's Hollywood. But I enjoyed the Grammys. Now, Beyonce, she broke a record last night. She is the most decorated Grammy award winner. She has right now, she has the most Grammys and the most Grammys ever won by an artist of all time. So she holds the record of the artist who won the most Grammys of all time since the existence of the Grammys. Also, today, February the 6th, her pre-sale tickets for Group A is on sale. I'm in Group A because I picked MetLife Stadium for July the 30th. So I have a 4 p.m. appointment with Ticketmaster for me to log on with my code. And there's no guarantee I'm going to get a ticket. But that is my focus, is Beyonce tickets, right? These tickets are astronomical expensive because if you go to like StubHub and these other reseller websites right now, a lot of them are sold out. And then the ones that's available, these tickets are ranging from $10,000 to $2,000. The section where I want to sit in, section 1, those tickets are like $2,000. I'm in Group C because the South is always last. Not it's not, I don't think it's by region because Philly is in Group C and they're not in the South. And that's her first stop on the tour. So to all the beehives that are right now in this room, it's 11 people. You understand you have to verify. You have to be verified as a beehive so you could get your date for the pre-sale. Do I have $2,000? Hell no. I have it in my savings, but that's a savings. Savings is not for leisure. Savings is not for Beyonce. I'm in the state of Ohio for business, to devote a whole year for business, which requires sacrifice. So I'm not supposed to be on no goddamn Ticketmaster trying to get tickets because I don't have the money. That is not, it should not be my focus. But I'm still going to do it. I'm still going to beg other people for $500. I just need 4 people to give me $500 a piece. Is that so hard? And honestly, I'm going to lie and tell them what I need. Because if I tell them the truth, they're not going to want to give me money so I can buy the fucking tickets. So you have a lot of people because people don't understand. Fine, you don't understand. I get it. You don't have to understand. You don't have to understand. Yes, it's crazy to spend $2,000 to see an artist, but this is where we are in society. This is where we're at. You have Live Nation who monopolize concert tickets because they bought Ticketmaster and they set a price and they know people are going to pay that price. So who is to blame? Live Nation or us, the people, paying that price? So if they set a price $5,000 and you know that's expensive, but you still purchase it, you just set a market value for that ticket. We actually create market value for things. Because if people don't buy it, they're going to lower the prices. But we don't think that way. We think, oh, this is the new price, so we have to pay that. But if we stop paying those high ass prices, is Kia from YouTube? If we stop paying those high ass prices, they're going to lower the prices. Now, mind you, artists like Beyonce, Live Nation paid them up front. So they negotiate, okay, Beyonce, I'm gonna pay you $100 million, but you got to pay your dancers, you got to pay your costumes, you got to pay your security, the hotel, your travel, everything comes out of, let's just say, $100 million plus her fee. So they pay these artists up front, and then they make their money from charging the concert venues, the tickets, the merchandise. So they know they're going to make their money, their insurance, because the concert venues have to have a certain amount of insurance. So, which is why they charge more so that they can control the market value. But, so that they can control the market. And what they do is they put a higher price because we, the public, majority of Americans don't understand that we're the ones that put a value on it. So they make us believe that they put a value on it. But if you don't pay for something and they ain't making no money from it, if they're just breaking even or losing money, they're going to lower the goddamn prices. But people are buying prices. Her stage is fly. She got a regular stage, then she has the catwalk, and then another round circle. And people could be inside that circle, right? That's the beehive section. That's the Renaissance. That's the Renaissance section, right? On the floor inside the circle. Those tickets are $10,000 right now. If you want to be in the Renaissance section. The beehive section is going for up to, I believe, 7,000. And I think the cheapest is 4 or 5. I want to be in section 1, period. But I want to be closer down, like between rows 1 through 10, not row 50 in section 1. Row 50 in section 1 is going for 1,700. Row 10 is probably going for 2,100. So again, Live Nation monopolized, and Jay-Z, Beyonce, yes, they made a deal with Live Nation because you got to play the game. They knew we got to play the game to make money. So how can I get paid from Live Nation because they already bought up Ticketmaster? We don't set that price. So, you used to buy tickets at the most, and I'm talking about for Prince or even a Michael Jackson, at the most $500, and that was crazy. So let's say $300. Those days are over. $200 concert tickets, $150. No, those days are over with. $1,000 and up, and the $1,000 is for the nosebleeds. It's a problem, but at the same time, you try to convince millions of Americans that it's a problem. You won't, because they don't understand how it's working. And I see the judge. What is it? Invite to co-host. Okay. Okay. I sent you a co-host invite, Judge. Ask him to get us to Nikki, I was already on it. He said hell to the no. Oh, I sent you the invite. Okay. Hello?
I have it. It took a little while for the mic mute to show up so I could end it. Okay. Judge is in the house. Good morning. Good afternoon, Miss Dana. Good afternoon, everyone. Good morning, West Coast and
it's still West Coast. It's still morning. Yes, it's still morning on West Coast.
And also it's Man
So,
Monday, first Monday of the month.
oh yeah, Man Monday, that's a good one. Well, let me just say this, right? You're running for mayor of Memphis, and honey, you are doing a phenomenal job. You are booked and busy. You know what you're doing. You know what needs to be done. The only problem that I have is I no longer have my bestie. I don't talk to you anymore. You're always busy. You don't pick up my calls like you used to. Yeah. Like I feel so left behind to a certain degree.
Well, business is business. Pleasure is pleasure. It's always a pleasure to talk with you. And by the way, some of the younger listeners might want to pick up on this. You and I fuss and carry on, but we're still cool. So this is how men and women deal with each other. It ain't a war. So people need to get over it when everybody is supposedly their enemy just because they don't always agree with them.
Right. Also, another thing that I observed about you these last couple of weeks is you are so locked in with focus. And the other day, you don't sometimes go to bed till after 3 or 4 in the morning. And you said, because you're up reading and studying because of what you are doing. And just real quick, if you could just talk about the importance of locking in, i.e., being focused on something that's important that you're trying to achieve. Can you just speak to that? Because you're super duper focused. Like he is totally locked. The judge is completely locked in right now, running for mayor. And it takes a lot of focus, dedication, and hard work. You muted yourself, Judge. Unmute. Can you hear me? You muted yourself. I don't think I could unmute him. He had to unmute. Let me see. Yeah, I can't unmute. No, he has to unmute. I don't know what happened. He muted, and I don't. He has to unmute. Maybe
I
something
didn't.
going on.
Okay. It just went mute on me. I was just checking out some of the people who had joined in. But to get the right kind of focus, you have to do this. It's like this is African American Black History Month, Afro American History Month, whatever you want to say. They tend to focus it on why we should celebrate it. And you talk about who buck danced here and who sang there, but that's not why we study history. We study history to learn its lessons, to apply those lessons to our todays, so our tomorrows will be what we want them to be rather than something else that might not be too good or pleasant. I study incessantly like I am preparing for final exams or midterms way back in college, and that's been decades ago for me. But I did that not just to get a grade back in college, but to prepare myself for my tomorrows. So right now, since I've gotten so inextricably caught up with my tomorrows have a great deal to do with everybody else's, then out of fundamental fairness to everybody that's in my huge circle and myself, I owe it to be up on what I'm saying. So I'm not just talking off of the top of my head. I am speaking or texting or tweeting or leading in a fashion that will get those who follow to a good place rather than a bad place. We don't get that much these days. It's like preachers, the good preachers, a few of them are still around. And instead of hooping and hollering, they have a prepared text where they want to give a message to the congregation. So the congregation is guided in what they ought to be doing. Now, most of them just talk about belief and they don't talk about sin. In other words, what you ought not be doing. And everybody knows what they're suffering, so you don't need to go over that, but you get some guidance in what you ought to be doing and why. Now, right now, we get a whole lot of concern about what's going wrong with us, how we're suffering, and what's being done wrong to us. But for every 200 of those that you hear speaking about it, who are on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or wherever you may encounter them, for every 200, you get maybe one or two out of that 200 who actually says, but there are other solutions, and these are things that need to be corrected so we can go there. And nobody wants to hear what needs to be corrected. They just want to hear what wrong has been done to them, and somebody effectively whining about it rather than saying, hey, we have adversity to deal with. This is how we deal with the adversity, and this is why you are having a difficulty. That's when the preacher would be standing up and saying, you're sinning, or you're doing wrong, or this is a wrong motivation. You have to change this if you want success in your life, or you want to feel guiltless in your life, or you want to feel like you're going somewhere in your life. You need to do these things. Now all we hear is belief and, oh, woe is you. You've been jumped on. So are you going to stand there and get jumped on? To be a good term, I suppose, would be bullied by life, or would you fight back and do something about it? And when you start fighting back, or you start indicating you want to learn how to fight, somebody says, all right, let me see what you got. And you show him, and the person says, well, your front foot, it's putting you in a position where you're out of balance. Watch your footwork. This one needs to be at 45 degrees. This is 15. It looks like that. And when you block, you look like this. And when you're punching, you're windmilling, which is not going to hurt anybody. You can beat on them all day and you won't knock them out. But if you do this one or two punches and they're down, and the event is ended. So we are at that stage right now where what I try to do is to be aware of the blows that are coming, that have been delivered, and analyzing them so it can be all right. You get this kind of block, and this is the punch, and this is the alternative move, this is the follow up, and your adversity will be down on the ground. That's
Right.
what we do, and why I study.
Well, before you came in, I was talking briefly about the Grammys, and then I went on to the Beyonce tickets. I did put them on one of the things to talk about, but I don't think you want to talk about that off the
No,
bat,
I
because I
don't.
want
That's
to. Let me.
entertainment. And every time I hear entertainment, I cannot help but reflect on Julius Caesar
Mhm.
and his remarks to his then lieutenant, Mark Antony, a general in the Roman army or legions. And Mark Antony said, Caesar, what do you think the mob, mean the ordinary people, are going to think of you being made dictator for life? And he says, give them bread and circuses. Donne pane excelsior. Give to them bread and circuses, and they won't care. In other words, feed them and entertain them, and they won't care. And we're getting well fed these days, and we have lots and lots of entertainment. And too many of us don't care. So I pay attention to the essentials, like a Caesar or a Mark Antony did, rather than the entertainments like the mob did, because somebody has to be a leader, and we don't have leaders now. The people that have the attention of the mob tend to be the same people that are distracting them with the entertainments, and that's not getting us where we need to go, either as a people or as a part of a country, and the country likewise.
So with that said, I would say one of the reasons why they want to feed us, a circus, is to distract us from all the corruption that they're doing, which goes into today's main focus of discussion, which is in Memphis, corruption is the rule, not the exception. So I came up with that in a conversation that me and you had a couple of days ago, and I was like, oh, that'd be a good topic and title for the Twitter space. Care to elaborate? In Memphis, corruption is the rule and not the exception.
Well, if you analyze Memphis history, you can see how it developed.
Mm-hmm.
Fast forwarding and synthesizing the lessons or condensing the lessons, this is probably one of the most corrupt cities in the United States at the moment. It's nice, nasty corruption where it's essentially white collar type corruption. And the fallout from the white collar corruption at the top in the governmental circles, the positions of power, is that there is very little respect for public peace, dignity, decency, and order on the lower levels. So you get a lot of street crime, and Memphis is leading in the homicide rate. It is at the top when it comes to carjacking, rapes, kidnapping, and a number of other bad things. So in order to stop this, you have to start at the top, get rid of the corruption at the top. And you also have to deal with another thing, which is the corruption at the top is neglected what's happening at the bottom, and the bottom is the foundation for the city. And you can't neglect people at the bottom of the economic heap because people have cars these days. They travel where they want to. And you may feel secure in your community, but if you've got people who have no respect for law and order, who are being neglected on the economic scale, who are being neglected when it comes to the top providing opportunities for them to deal with, then the top suffers and the whole thing totters because the foundation is rotten. So everything has to be worked on in a holistic fashion. You can't just focus on one part or one aspect of something and say, hopefully, if I focus on this, everything else will come along. That's nonsense. It doesn't, because these days, everything is interdependent.
Right. Last week, you always tweet out your running for mayor banner, and and then you write a quote and everything. And I posted that today in my community section on YouTube. And I always tell people to go and support, go to your website. That's judgejoebrown2023.com. Sign up and financially support. You could donate straight from the website. And Judge also has a Cash App, which is $ Judge Joe Brown 2023. So definitely go and support and go to the website. That's jjb2023.com. You did write, speaking of corruption, and you said, look at the sources of candidate campaign finance contributions. Followthemoney.org. Some are so proud of who bought them on the auction. See who and what they really are. So that was interesting because I think we also have to understand and realize if you do follow the money and see to certain campaigns, then you could kind of understand that candidate, what you can expect from them, the true agenda, because of who bought them, which are the people who are donating, a large amount of money to their campaigns.
Yeah.
So does that go towards that corruption umbrella?
It does. In other words, if you go and find out who's contributing to a candidate, you can see what you're really voting for if you vote for that candidate. Now, if that candidate has gotten an enormous store of money donated to their campaigning over either one recent election cycle or in the past, pretty much they've been bought by that entity. So when you see concerns that have no interest in your well-being, and in fact you might look at as your enemies, being a profound and aggressive sponsor of the person that's holding themselves out to you as a representative, then I wouldn't go there, because that means your would-be representative is just a surrogate for somebody else or something else rather than representing you. You can see that in the Black Caucus in Congress, and if you look them up, you will see who really owns most of them. And that's why we haven't gotten anything presented for us. We have no proffer of reparations from anyone in the Black Caucus or on or about the Black Caucus. And we don't have any legislation that impacts us in a meaningful fashion. That's because they're surrogates for other interests, and you can look them up and find out who those interests really are. There are other ways of doing that besides followthemoney.org, but it's a start. And in some states, you may find that your candidates are not listed because of the reporting requirements for your state. But there are other ways of making such discoveries, and those are necessary things when it comes to finding out whether you really have a representative or whether you're getting pimped, simped, or otherwise sold a bill of goods. So we need to look into such things instead of being so profoundly concerned about our entertainments.
Yeah, instead of being concerned about Beyonce tickets.
Yeah, when you told me what they were going for, I said, really? Well, if you can find it, I can afford them, but I mean, there's no way in hell I love Beyonce. Don't get me wrong. I think she is drop dead gorgeous and very, very able at what she does when it comes to entertainment. Now, no way.
I
don't care how much money I have in my pocket. I'll go buy a CD or a video.
I said to you,
no.
I said to you, it's funny how people with money, you guys are the main ones that don't want to spend, that would not spend it on something like that. And you was like, yeah, that's how we have money. That's how we get to keep our money. Because you have to know, how to save and hold on or invest or buy something that's, worth something with value, or you want to get a return. But speaking of, just going back real quick to Memphis, with the Tyre Nichols, that's still making headlines, I'm assuming. What is going on right now with in Memphis, around the police department? They dissolved the Scorpion unit. It was something else that made headlines. Wasn't it a police officer last week was shot?
Yeah, what happened was last week, a very bad incident developed. Somebody from another state who was wanted for a number of serious violent felonies had been dating some woman locally. They weren't getting along, and she worked in a public library right in the midst of a very busy center. So he decided to visit the library, pulled out a pistol. The police got called. 2 officers entered. One of them said, "Drop it." The suspect whirled, shot that officer in the head, and the other officer killed the suspect. He was there to do some harm to the lady. Now, I was interested because I'd been in a restaurant that actually was just next door to this library
Mm-hmm.
2 days before it happened, in a movie theater well patronized by a lot of the city population, was in the same parking lot. Houston's was across the parking lot. 5 or 6 restaurants were immediately fronting the library, the Starbucks, and this is one of the busier meeting places in the city. So it kind of freaked out a lot of people who didn't expect anything like that to happen where they were.
Right.
So it's tragic. We don't know whether this officer is going to survive. And like a priest said yesterday, a very profound sermon that he delivered, a Reverend Gray of Union Valley Baptist Church here in Memphis. I had known the pastor who founded the church. He's now passed on. But Reverend Gray worked in the correctional field for a while. And he said that police misconduct is intolerable. But sometimes, he said, he mentioned 2 somebodies would do some wrong, rob someone, do some harm, take off running, and one of them get laid on the ground, and then everybody lamenting the fact that somebody got laid on the ground and unconcerned with the person that one of them just got through killing to get laid on the ground. So he said it's more to it than just something simple and direct. It's like it's a matter of public order, and we all have to get involved in that.
Mm-hmm.
So I enjoyed the sermon, and I told him that absent something else for the inauguration ceremony, he's going to get to deliver the message.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that said, that kind of thing is a reality. Public order is public order, and most of us these days aren't very familiar with how to bestow order. We don't know how to do it in our houses, and our children, not all children, but too many of our children are completely out of control. We can't control them, let alone somebody we don't know. And we don't have militias patrolling our neighborhoods, so we have police. And sometimes the police are all too human in the same things that our children in our community suffer with. Some of the police who may be from that community suffer from the same ills. So we have to understand that we can't do much if where we live is a place of chaos and disorder. So bestowing public peace, dignity, and order is up to the citizens, to those officers that are employed to take care of the business of order while the rest of us work our regular jobs. And we have to pay attention to those that we elect to select and employ these entities on our behalf. You
Right.
see, it does no good at all when we don't have that.
Mm-hmm. Any are they planning any marches or protests in Memphis in lieu of the Tyre Nichols, or is that starting to quiet
Nobody's
down?
angry.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people are not angry. And that's because there's another side to these things. I won't touch on it. There are allegations, but it has even gotten deeper than it was the last time I talked to you about it. So the people here are like, well, there was no excuse for what happened, but there was another side that, this is same old human stuff, not just some rogue police who are out there pulling over some random motorist. What happened was intolerable, but that wasn't where this was. So let's wait. Now, we had the Young Democrats, which have been co-opted by people who are trying to find Georgia Stacey Abrams to celebrate. And yesterday, they predictably blocked off a block downtown Sunday, so nobody was out there. About 45 of them, and the press wanted to cover this. And meanwhile, on the other side of the same building, next street over, you had some people who were attempting to offer solutions. And as a matter of fact, I was the keynote speaker and had an interview from the same station with some solutions and observations. They wouldn't carry that. The reporter called up to say he was extremely shocked and surprised that his station refused to carry anything of it. And basically it was because they didn't want anybody to come in and rock the boat and expose the corruption of which they are a big part. Right. So you have these kind of mutually reinforcing negatives. We need to go around them and have mutually reinforcing positives. So yes, there's a demonstration, but I went over there and looked. I didn't even get to 45 people. It was fewer than that, but they blocked off a street on a Sunday when most people were at church. And there was hardly anybody downtown anyway. So, yeah, okay. It looks interesting, but nobody's really interested because people say, we know what this is. Things need to be done, and we want to see some profound change, not somebody trying to get up and floor show and take advantage of the situation.
Right. Which is all part of under the umbrella of corruption as well. Because you're trying to change the narrative and, from the truth. Instead of getting to the truth and justice, you're trying to change the narrative to benefit a certain group of people. And that are really not from Memphis. So I want to go and talk about China, and I want people to know if you want to request to come up and to request to say something or ask a question, please do so, because we're not going to be up here long. I say no more than 3:30, because I need to go on Ticketmaster at 4 p.m., but that's a whole nother thing. Also, Judge Joe Brown, jjb2023.com is the website. Go sign up, donate, jjb2023.com.
Don't judge him, Joe Brown.